Welcome to Negocios with Visila Bococo, Business with Visila Bococo. It doesn't matter if it's in Spanish or in English, we keep going in the conversation. And today we have with us Rohit Chauhan, and I'm super excited because we're going to speak about one of my favorite things, which is artificial intelligence. He's the Vice President for Artificial Intelligence for Mastercard. And today I'm sure that we're going to learn a lot of deals about this. Welcome, Rohit.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, my first question is, how did you get involved in artificial intelligence? What came first, AI or banking?
So, Bisala, I am an engineer by training.
Mm-hmm.
And no matter what kind of engineering you do, in engineering, you learn structured problem solving. You give any problem and you figure out how do you break the problems down, and then you solve each of the parts to then construct the solution to the overarching problem. And then on top of that, I got a degree, a master's degree in computer science, and that kind of gives you something on top of structured problem solving, provides you more tools to figure out how you solve problems. So I have to admit that AI came first and then came banking, because I already had these kind of tool set and skill set with me when I started my journey in the financial world.
And can you give us a definition of AI, just to make sure that we all are in the same page?
Okay, super. So basically, if you ask like 10 people what AI is, and you'll get 10 different definitions, because everybody kind of understands it. Some people think it's like, anything that's like Star Wars kind of thing is AI. Some people, and I think I'm glad that you asked this question, because it's very important that everybody is on the same page so that they understand exactly what AI is before they dive into this conversation. So I'll describe AI in a very, very simple way so that everybody, all your kind of audience will be able to understand it. So there is a body of knowledge that we have that we can articulate, and we can write rules. For example, you say, what is 2 plus 2? You said 4, and we can write a rule. We can write an entire table, like how to add 2 plus 2. But Bisala, I've met you today, and if I run into you 2 days from now, I know this is Bisala. But if somebody says that I have this body of knowledge, can I write all the rules to say who's Bisala? The answer is no. So I have knowledge, and I can recognize you 2 days from now, 2 years from now. But nevertheless, I don't have the ability to write rules to say this is Bisala. So there are computer programs that are designed to capture the knowledge that we have, that we do not have the ability to write rules for, and create rules that computer would write for you, so that they can capture knowledge that the knowledge that we know, but we don't have the ability to write rules for.
Wow.
Let me give you another example so that this comes to life. For example, we all know how to drive a car. A whole number of people know how to drive a car. But if somebody says, can you write all the rules how to drive a car? We just wouldn't know. Like, how would you, like, where do you start?
Exactly.
So there are things that we are good at, and we do it every day, but we just can't write rules. It's very easy to make computers do things that we could write rules for. But then artificial intelligence allow you to start writing rules for things that we know and we are comfortable doing, but we do not have the ability to write rules for. And AI systems actually bring those things to life, where they are able to write rules for things that we can't, that we are unable to write rules for. Is that clear? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it makes sense. And actually, I could understand better what means AI now from your perspective. And you give us very clear examples about what it is. And this brings me to the next question. We have so many expectations about AI. And what means that AI is the next electricity? What that means exactly?
So like, if you look at any technology that has come in the last like 30, 40 years, technology sparks innovation. So let me just go back and tell you, like in the 1980s, computers came in. And what did computers do? what computers did was they took arithmetic and made it a commodity. Prior to that, arithmetic was a very expensive proposition. It would take a lot of things. People, put a lot of manpower to do like accounts and so on and so forth. Computers made arithmetic, the cost of arithmetic to zero. So all the business challenges that we had were all translated into arithmetic problems. Word processing became an arithmetic problem. Databases became arithmetic problems. Spreadsheet became arithmetic problems. And as a result, we saw massive improvement in productivity. All of us, first thing we come is start off the computer because we can't work without computers. Comes 1990, internet became available. And what did internet do? Internet took the cost of communication to zero. So what happened? The business world took all the business problem and made it into a communication problem. For example, they said even retail is a communication problem. You don't have to go to a retail store. Retail store travels with you all the time.
That's true.
So that's almost like kind of taking a business problem and then reframing as a communication problem and then solving it with using internet. Likewise, artificial intelligence has made prediction, the cost of prediction to zero. Now, you have to understand intelligence is just a combination of multiple prediction. You look at the weather, you look outside, it looks kind of, you look windy and it looks cold. You figure out you need to wear a jacket. It's a prediction. You look out and you're making a prediction. It looks windy. Likewise, any intelligence, any decision we make is based on a bunch of prediction. What AI did was that it took the cost of prediction to zero. So all the business challenges that exist right now will all get reframed as prediction problems and will get solved by AI. Let me just give you an example again to bring this to life. Companies said driving a car is a prediction problem. You put 1,000 cameras on top of the car and they can see exactly what is happening in and around the car. And based on that, they'll figure out the car should move forward, slow down, move left, move right, whatever the case might be. If driving a car can be reframed as a prediction problem, anything potentially can be reframed as a prediction problem. And hence, we feel that it is going to be bigger than the internet, bigger than the computer, and it will touch us in every aspect of our life, and hence the next electricity.
Wow. But this brings me to this discussion that in the media is going on regarding ethics and artificial intelligence. Why is ethics so important in AI?
It's a really good question, really good. And I'm glad that you're asking it. So I'll again use an example so that it becomes clear why ethics is important in AI. So there are a whole bunch of use cases where ethics, where AI use cases are really, really simple and ethics doesn't play a role in it. For example, I'm trying to predict the temperature outside, like what will be the weather outside. There is no ethical aspect, based on satellite images and so on and so forth. But now assume that we have a self-driving car and the car is driving, you have a self-driving car. If you and I are driving a car and if suddenly somebody jumps in front of the car, in that split second, we jam the brake, we don't even know what we do. And in the end, some unfortunate things happen. Somebody gets hurt, we get hurt, the car hits another car, or whatever the case might be. But just assume that it is a self-driving car and is going at a very high speed and somebody comes in front of the car. In that split second, it can possibly perform 1 million instructions. And in that 1 million instructions, what happens in the end is not going to be random. Like when we have an accident, if unfortunately if we do have an accident, we can't determine what exactly happened because it happens so quickly. We jam on the brake. We can never recall what led us to do what. But if a self-driving car has an accident, whatever leads to the accident is going to be deterministic. It will be car would know. It will be an informed decision. Now just assume that if one of the two persons is going to get hurt, the person sitting in the car or person on the road, the question is, who makes that decision? That is an ethical question. And hence, there are use cases for AI where regulation and ethics play a really major role.
Interesting. Absolutely. I think you put it very clear. Now we understand. What is the biggest use case for AI at Mastercard?
So this is the longest and the most deep-rooted AI use case at Mastercard is fraud detection. So we have like literally on a really good day, we have over 1 billion transactions happening on a network.
Wow.
And some of these transactions are fraudulent transactions. And the goal that we have is to make sure that we flag and stop transactions. We don't want your credit card to be used by a fraudster to buy things that you're not authorizing. So finding the fraudulent transaction through sifting through 1 billion transactions and flagging it so that we can, stop them is the biggest use case. And these cybersecurity threats just keep increasing. Like we always see more fraudulent transactions on online transactions than transactions where the cardholder is present. But with the last pandemic, we see a huge spike in online transactions because not a lot of stores are open and a lot of people are opting to do online purchases. And as a result, the fraudulent transactions are also spiking up because fraudsters are also kind of sitting at home and making more transactions to see what they can get through. So it's a really big use case and a very valuable use case, and we take pride in keeping our network really safe and secure using AI.
Absolutely. And Mastercard also aims to use AI as a tool to advance equitable economic development in developing countries. How this can be done by Mastercard, by your experience?
So Bisla, so Mastercard is a foundation, and our foundation is on financial inclusion. And when we talk about financial inclusion, we're talking about people who do not have access to credit and working capital. One has to realize that it is with working capital and with access to credit, we can give people the opportunities that they would never have if they really had no access to capital or to get on the financial grid. So we work with a lot of nonprofit organizations to figure out how we can get more and more people onto the financial grid, and so that they can have access to capital and lending.
Wonderful. Yeah.
One of the examples that I wanted to talk about is that there are ecosystems where in developing countries where they do micro lending. So where there would be people who will go from village to village, ask questions and make an assessment. And should we be giving out, a $15 loan to somebody in a rural area so that they can buy a goat, so that they can then use the goat to do some farming and produce milk or whatever the case might be. Now the fact is that in these kind of ecosystem, there are individual people that are going to village. So you would expect that it's very fragmented. It's like, there could be a good lender and there could be not a good lender, and so on and so forth. Somebody is successful, somebody is not successful. So we are using AI to understand who are the people who are much more successful and taking their learnings and then using their learnings to teach all other kind of micro lenders so that they can then use learnings from the better lenders, so that we can do that in a much more efficient way, so that we can bring more and more people on the financial grid.
I love this, that you take care of that financial inclusion in developing countries, because that is essential for the whole development of country.
Our success is going to be driven by getting as many people on the financial grid as possible, because that, and Mastercard takes this very seriously, and we have a huge foundation that is dedicated only towards trying to get more and more people, especially in the developing countries, to get onto the financial grid. So couldn't agree with you more on that.
That's wonderful. And just to conclude, can you let us know what are the trends, technological trends that are important to Mastercard to positively impact the financial management in the current times?
So there's the few things that are happening, and I think I'm sure you heard about this, but sometimes they don't people don't connect the dots. So for example, like internet provided connectivity, artificial intelligence provided insights. So the combination of internet and AI is very powerful, because just connectivity by itself is not enough. It's the intelligence on top of connectivity that actually brings the entire ecosystem to life. Likewise, 5G is going to make the communication even so much more faster than what it exists right now. So with 5G, we would expect a huge step function in the kind of financial services that will be made available to our community, just based on the technology that is moving. Another example, banks are really huge. Banks kind of focus on certain profitable segments and so on and so forth. Open banking is kind of making its way. And what open banking allows is it allows smaller fintech companies to actually play in the banking arena and innovate and create products that are more addressing smaller segments that banks may have overlooked in the past. And I think that is going to help the community and segments of the society which have not been served so well. So there's another, that's another trend that we expect would have a major impact on how financial products are produced and kind of distributed to the community.
So from your perspective, actually, you conclude that all of these new trends are also helping that the humanity is actually more equitable and that we have more opportunities for all.
Absolutely. I mean, all technology, if they, for the right use cases, is going to help progress the, is going to benefit the society and all aspects of the society around the globe.
Well, thank you so much for sharing these insights with us, to also give us a little bit more light about what is AI and the usage. And I think that you have been able to transfer, at least to me, and I'm sure to all the audience, that passion and commitment that AI serves the real purpose, that to enhance our life for the better.
Thanks, Bisala. Thanks for inviting me. I'm truly honored to be on your show and having this discussion with you. And I'm hoping that people find it useful.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Rohit.
Thank you.